I still remember that night like it never ended, because in some ways, it didn't. It started with a sound I almost ignored. A soft, broken cry coming through the thin wall between my apartment and the one next door. At first, I thought it was just the TV, maybe a movie, maybe nothing. But then it came again, quieter this time, like someone trying hard not to be heard. And I froze. You know that moment when your heart tells you something isn't right, but your mind tells you to stay out of it. I stood there, caught in between, staring at the wall as if it could answer me. I wish I could say I acted immediately, that I rushed over like some kind of hero. But I didn't. I hesitated. Because getting involved in someone else's life is scary. Because what if I misunderstood? What if it wasn't my place? But then I heard it again. A muffled sob, followed by a whisper so faint I could barely make it out. Please, stop. That was it. Something inside me shifted, and without thinking any more, I grabbed my keys and stepped out into the hallway. Her door was right there. I had seen her before, just brief moments. A quiet woman in her late 20s, always polite, always smiling just enough to hide something. She lived alone, or at least, that's what I thought. That night, her door was slightly open. I knocked softly. No response. My heart started pounding. I knocked again, louder this time. Hey, are you okay? Silence. And then, a sudden crash from inside. I didn't think anymore. I pushed the door open. What I saw, I wasn't ready for. The room was a mess. A broken lamp on the floor. A chair overturned, and in the corner, her, curled up, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to disappear. And standing near her, a man. He turned toward me, surprised. Angry. Who the hell are you? He snapped. I didn't have a plan. No script. Just instinct. I live next door, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I heard something. You need to leave. He laughed. Not the kind of laugh that's funny, the kind that makes your skin crawl. This is none of your business. Maybe he was right, but I looked at her, her trembling hands, her tear-streaked face, and I knew one thing. It had just become my business. You need to leave, I repeated, firmer this time. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. His eyes darkened, his jaw tightened, but then something shifted. Maybe it was the way I didn't back down. Maybe it was the fact that someone had seen. Whatever it was, he scoffed, grabbed his jacket, and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The silence that followed felt heavier than the noise before. I turned to her slowly. It's okay, I said, even though I wasn't sure it was. She didn't respond, just sat there, shaking. I crouched down a few feet away, careful not to get too close. Hey, you're safe now. That's when she finally looked up at me. And I'll never forget her eyes. Not because they were beautiful, though they were, but because they carried something deeper, something broken. Thank you, she whispered. That night, I stayed. Not because I had to, but because leaving didn't feel right. I made her tea, helped clean up the mess, sat across from her in silence when words felt too heavy. And slowly, piece by piece, she began to open up. Her name was Aisha. The man was someone she had trusted. Someone who had once made her feel safe. But over time, that safety turned into control, then fear. She had been living like that for months. Smiling outside, breaking inside, and no one knew. Not her family, not her friends. Until that night. Until I heard her cry. Over the next few days, things didn't magically get better. Healing never works like that. There were police reports, difficult conversations, moments where she doubted herself, moments where she almost went back. And every time, I reminded her of what she deserved. Not pain, not fear, but peace. Slowly, she started to believe it too. She found strength she didn't know she had. Took steps that once felt impossible. Reclaimed pieces of herself that had been lost. And I just stayed. Not as a hero, but as someone who chose not to look away. Weeks turned into months. The apartment next door changed. It felt lighter somehow, warmer. And so did she. One evening, she knocked on my door. For the first time, she wasn't trembling. I got a new job, she said, a small but real smile on her face. I smiled back. That's amazing. I couldn't have done it without you. I shook my head. No, you did it. I just knocked on a door. She paused for a moment, then said something I'll carry with me forever. Sometimes, that's all it takes. Someone to knock. And she was right. Because that night didn't just change her life. It changed mine too. I realized how easy it is to ignore things. To convince ourselves that something isn't our problem. But sometimes, the smallest action, the decision to care, to step in, to simply ask, "Are you okay?" can change everything. So if you've made it this far in the story, I want to ask you something. What would you do? If you heard someone crying next door, would you ignore it? Or would you knock? Because someone out there might be waiting, hoping, praying, for someone like you to show up. And if this story touched your heart even a little, don't just scroll away. Take a second to like this video, because it helps stories like this reach people who need them. And subscribe to the channel, because you never know, one story might be the reason someone finds the strength to keep going. Just like she did, just like that night, when everything changed.